With regard to my life, I was born in Edmonton, Alberta in 1946, and my parents were very ordinary people. My father was a painter who worked for the Canadian National Railway, and my mother was a secretary. My father was rather older than my mother, so he retired when I was quite young yet, and she began to work instead. She became a legal secretary. And our father looked after us. We were 4 children altogether, 2 boys and 2 girls. And we grew up in a faithful environment. It was Lutheran, but it was nevertheless Christian at a time when things were much more traditional and sort of normal than they are now. I have to say that I grew up in a very supportive and loving family. I learned music when I was young, and that went with me throughout the whole of my life, both playing the piano and singing. I would say that then I went through the usual education process. I spent time at the University of Alberta and got a Bachelor of Arts degree after being not entirely certain what I should be doing. I thought I was going to be a teacher, but God directed me in another direction. By this time I had become an Anglican because I found that through experience that it had a fuller experience of worship than the Lutherans did, and it felt better to me. While I was an Anglican, I encountered a priest who was a lover of Orthodox people and worship and theology and the like, and he introduced me in Edmonton to the Russian parish, St. Barbara's. I think I was 19 with my first experience for the vigil of Christmas, and it was, although it was in a language I didn't understand, it was nevertheless really beautiful. And it opened my heart after a long time, because I'm stubborn and slow, to come into the Orthodox faith. In the course of that time, with the help of people I met who were other Orthodox people, I came to understand the positive difference in the Orthodox Church. And I was finally, after being an Anglican cleric for several years, to embrace it. Even during the time I was studying in Vancouver, towards being an Anglican cleric, I was encountering Orthodox people who were related to people I knew in Edmonton and this was in Holy Resurrection Church. One of the ones that I met there was Father Oleg Boldarev, but even more significantly for me was Bishop Yoasaf, and after him Father Andrei Somov. And I can't forget Father Kirill Bulashevich also. They were all influential in their love of the Lord, in bringing me into the church little by little. When I finally came into the church, I went to St. Vladimir's seminary and studied for 3 years. It was supposed to be 1 year for transition, but you cannot make a transition from west to east in such a short time, because it's not just knowledge, it's a way of life. It's the relationship with God is different, fuller, more balanced, and the same thing goes with the church. So it takes a long time to experience it and to allow it to sink in. And even when I thought it was sinking in deeper, I did not, in my youthfulness, realize how shallow it was yet. The Lord sent me to Finland to spend a year at New Valam Monastery, and that was a very strengthening experience, because there was besides the younger monks, there was an archimandrite who was the last of the monks to leave Old Valam, and the Archbishop of Finland at the time was also a Valam monk, and I got to meet them both and to experience them at prayer and worship. And Archimandrite Symphorian I did not hear speak much, because he was very much a solitary by this time. But our Archbishop Pavel was a really good speaker and a good example of an Orthodox Christian pastor. And then after that, I was back in North America doing missionary work for a time. And then I was given a parish first in North Carolina, then in Ontario, and then in Manitoba, and from which they chose me to be a bishop. And that's when I moved to Ottawa in 1987, and was given the responsibility of rebuilding and developing and strengthening the diocese as well as I could with God's help. And it is definitely all with God's help. I did what I could with my limitations. But the Lord guided, and He has done wonders in the diocese, in its growth and its stability. And that lasted for the next decades, until I encountered an attack which took me out of the Episcopal service, and from that time I have been living as a monk in in Ontario, sorry. I say Alberta because I expect I will end up there before my repose, God willing. And that's since I've been living as a semi-solitary monk here in Ottawa, I've also been doing a lot of writing about the history of parishes in Canada, and also writing biographies of bishops and some clergy and some lay people who are significant in the life and development of the diocese. And for all of that, I say, God help me and glory to God for everything.